What a game. Look at these playoffs. NBA playoffs are amazing usually, but you know what's going to happen when the playoffs start. You know who's going to win. You did not know that this year because of injury, because of the condensed schedule and the lack of a longer offseason. There were a lot of injuries, and you don't ever wish for things to be decided by injury, and you hate to see it. But the fact is, it injected randomness into the playoffs. And it's been an unpredictable postseason. Last night's game. All right. By the way, and Tom Brady said something. I really didn't get into it yesterday. We're going to get into it a little bit later in the show. He said, "You're going to keep that expletive?" Which quarterback was he talking about? We're going to get into it later in the show. But first, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. The Suns are up 2-0. But let me tell you something. They've been playing at home. They've been playing in front of a raucous crowd. They have been getting stellar performances by, bench players or players who've had to step up like Cameron Payne. They have a real, their forwards, both Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, not to mention Jay Crowder. They're really good players. It's one of the reasons I like them so much in the preseason. By the way, Raj, we need to find the clips of me talking about how good the Suns were going to be this year, because all I ever hear from Molly on set is, "You weren't talking about the Suns preseason." You have to listen to the radio show, Molly. At any rate, on the set of First Take, giving me the business. Anyway, so all those, and Deandre Ayton stepped up huge last night. But this Suns team is taken down to the last possession, essentially, in consecutive games by a Clippers team without Kawhi Leonard. Series ain't over if Kawhi comes back, but is he even going to come back? Now, there is so much to get into in this game. This entire segment, we didn't book any guests, nothing. I am going through this game, this segment, because there's so much to get into, starting with, did Pandemic Paul return? Paul George really has been playing very well. Not super efficiently, still not up to his normal standards in terms of his efficiency, but he's been playing better than he had in the past. He has been playing at an all-star level. He's usually all-star plus, but he's been playing at an all-star level instead of just like maybe a starter, an above-average starter. And he's been playing well enough as the best player on his team that he's kept them in the game twice on the road. And he hit a clutch shots. He and Devin Booker were going back and forth, trading clutch shots, but with the game on the line, he missed both free throws. And tell me I'm lying when I say, you thought he might do that, didn't you? Look, he feels that pressure in the big moment. He turns into a lesser version of himself. Here's Paul George at the post-game press conference talking about those two missed free throws, which left the door open for the Suns.
That put me in position to extend the lead. I'm always confident at the free throw line. I've always been very successful in clutch moments at the free throw line. Tonight, I was just unsuccessful.
Look, I'm not blaming the loss on Paul George. It was not his fault. He missed two free throws. It was a choke, but he also played well enough as the best player on his team to keep his team in the game against a team that was really, they have, well, I'm going to get to this in a second, but it's a better team, the Suns. If you take Kawhi off and Chris Paul off, both, like the two leaders of the teams, the Suns at least they have more all-star caliber players than the Clippers. And Paul George played well enough to keep his team in the game. I'm not blaming him. If you blame Paul George for missing those free throws, I want you to blame Kevin Durant for airballing the three. I don't hold it against Kevin Durant that he couldn't by himself beat the Bucks. No Kyrie, basically no Harden. I'm not going to hold that against KD. He played amazingly well. And I'm not going to say this game it's because Paul George missed those free throws that they lost the game. That left the door open. It's not the reason they lost the game. He played well enough to keep him in it. And that was Straight Talk, wireless, no contract, no compromise. But there's so much to get into. How did it even get there? By the way, the final play of that game, we're talking about, okay, let me just go through what we need to go over here. There's the Paul George missed free throws. I just talked about them. There's the final play of the game, the alley-oop to Jay Crowder, inbounding the ball to Deandre Ayton, right? Where was Boogie Cousins defensively on that play? Jeff Van Gundy calling the shot. Van Gundy's on TV, on the ESPN broadcast saying, what you need to do here is inbound directly alley-oop to Deandre Ayton. That's exactly what they did, and it worked. And it was a great play by Ayton and an even better pass by Jay Crowder. Did you see the angle of the backboard for Jay Crowder to thread the needle? It's like even just throwing like a crumpled up piece of paper into a waste paper basket when you have to kind of go around a wall is hard, right? He had to do that in the playoffs at an angle where you really have to thread the needle. That was it was a perfect pass. Maybe Boogie Cousins was not where he was supposed to be, but nevertheless, great pass by Jay Crowder. Great call by Monty Williams. Great pass by Jay Crowder. Great finish on the play by Deandre Ayton. The only reason they could draw up a play like that is because of these replays. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But like, there's so much here. It's like there's like a doorway here, and I'm trying to get everything through at the same time. There's so much to get into. So that was an amazing play by Monty Williams, although amazing. Jeff Van Gundy called it. So how brilliant is it? It's something that a coach sees, right? By the pass by Crowder, the finish by Ayton. What I came away with after this game, the headline to me, more than anything else, was not Paul George missing the free throws, was not Monty Williams drawing up a play, or that final play, or Devin Booker getting hot late when they needed it. What I came away with is Deandre Ayton has arrived. This is now every single series of these playoffs. He was the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft, and he hasn't busted. If you're the number 1 overall pick and no one can call you a bust, you're a hell of a player.